What is up, and welcome back to the Talking Nutrition Podcast. We are back with a Q&A episode. Today we have a recording from our kind of like secret behind closed doors media challenge that we did February 19th through 23rd. We talked about mindset, training, nutrition. We talked about taking action, basically, like really doing something for your goals, and planning, periodization, a lot of good stuff. And again, like I said, it was a little bit of like a kind of like a secret, kind of behind closed doors challenge, because I mean, first of all, 5 days is very short, but I wanted to kind of see who's paying attention here. And I sent it out to our newsletter only, a couple of people on Instagram, handful of people kind of joined. And you know what? It's been great. It's been really cool, and it always shows who's the real action taker. So I don't mind sharing numbers and stuff. So we had 17 people join us for this, which is really cool. It was very last minute. It was a free mini challenge. And it always just, again, like I said, it shows who's the real action taker, who pays attention, who is willing to take action, and who actually signs up for something like this. And I told everyone, like, guys, listen, before we even get started, a 5-day mini challenge that's free comes with a few downsides. First of all, it's free, so you're very likely to not take it serious. And then again, same kind of thing with the 5 days. It's very short. We can talk about a lot of stuff, and we've been doing that, right? 5 days in a row, I've been going live for 45 minutes to teach and to answer questions. And we've done that for free. Why? Because we want to help our people. And we want to help you. I also want you to know that we're doing more challenges, right? So if you're not a member of our Facebook group yet, I highly encourage you to join us. So if you're not a member, I'm going to drop, I was going to say drink, I'm going to drop the link in the show notes and join us. It's a free group, and we do challenges. We do sometimes live trainings and free resources and those kind of things. Go check it out. No strings attached, no like sales or shit. Like, I just want to help you, and I want to have a place where we can meet, basically. And then if you want to join us for that next challenge, feel free to do so. Now, today we are going to get into a Q&A. Like I said, we had just about 17 people show up. And then I think just about half are like consistently, asking questions, which is usually how it goes with, challenges in general. And you know what? We covered a lot of good stuff. So let's get into it. Next week, we're going to get into the next part. And then, of course, as we go through this, so it's going to be a total of 5. We are going to basically cover anything from nutrition to mindset to planning and periodization to taking action and training. That's what it was. I always forgot training and movement. So all together, all important stuff. Let's dive into it. Yes, we are recording. So welcome back to day 3. Just actually already started talking without hitting record. What I was just saying is, like, in a couple days, we have so much to discuss. And again, free challenge, 5 days. I really appreciate the people showing up here. So I wanted to kind of name them one more time. So Karina, Stina, Johanna, Christina, Lisa, and Sarah, thank you so much for actually participating today again. And of course, we had some extra questions yesterday too. With these kind of things, we always right away, we see who's the action taker. So yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. If you're watching this video live in our Facebook group, drop me a quick like. If you are watching the replay, drop me a quick like. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, right, because I've been sending out the link via email, do me a massive favor, just subscribe there if you don't mind. Actually helps us grow the channel. Plus, it's our podcast channel. So if you want to keep learning after this, every single week we do 2 episodes. So there's a lot of learning. So let me just actually dive into that real quick, because 5 days, I'm really trying to just cram in a bunch of value for you guys. A lot of great questions today again. So we want to dive into that. But you can imagine, with nutrition being such a nuanced topic, and then there's training and lifestyle and everything else that kind of comes with it, 5 days is not that much. But there's something called podcasts and articles, right? And continuous just learning. And that's what we stand for. We never stop growing, right? That's one of our kind of like, mantras, I guess you could call it. Like we always want to keep learning. That goes for me. That goes for our other coach. It goes for you guys, right? It's like, you're here to learn. You're here to get better. And it all comes down to action. Once again, I've said it before, I said it the last 2 days. I'm going to say it the next couple of days again. You're going to have to take action for something to actually turn into a result. It's February 21st right now. We've seen so many people already fall off. And part of why that is, we're going to talk about today. But with the New Year's resolution, people still fall victim to the diets, to the supplements, to the, right? We don't know what to do. We regain the weight. We're going to, hopefully, if you take action on this stuff, help you not do that. And we're going to help you effectively, right? Efficiently, just, getting those results that you're after. So again, if you're watching right now, drop me a quick like, or if you're watching on YouTube, do me a massive favor, just subscribe to the channel. And actually, just like that video as well, just so I know who's kind of paying attention. So today, planning. Planning, I know is a little vague, which is why I send out the additional email. A little bit of meal planning, and then a little bit of periodization, and also kind of looking at your goals, yes, but then also including the social settings, the evenings out, the birthdays, etc. So where are we currently at? What do we struggle with? We wake up and we don't know what we're going to eat today, which already, right, if that happens, we're already behind. Because what happens now, we're reactive instead of proactive. You'll hear me say this all the time. We want to be proactive, not reactive. We want to make sure that when you start your day, you have a good idea already. Another issue is that we're trying to chase all these goals all at once. We're trying to perform well. And by the way, I want to run the marathon and I want to build muscle and I also want to lose fat and I also want to, right? And I also work a high stress life. And, there's so much going on and you want to achieve all those different goals all at the same time. We know what happens. We know what happens because we've seen it again. Just about halfway into January, people already fall off, and just about 50%, I think it is. Even more people by now, and this is actual research, right? By the end of the year, like most people have already just, I think it's 95% of people fail their New Year's resolution. Although like 80%-ish is already by now, usually. One of the reasons being they try to do everything all at once. It doesn't work that way. We're going to talk about that today. Plus, what do? You're on a roll, but now all of a sudden we have the birthday, we have the evening out. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about, right? You were doing super well, but now you go on vacation. You were doing super well, but now we have to party with work, the concerts, the whatever it may be. So what we want to do about that, first of all, is starting to plan your days. You want to be productive. You want to be proactive, right? Resourceful. We talked about that in day one. We want to know what we're going to eat, at least for the most part. And I can almost guarantee that if I were to look into your food log, there's not that much variety in there anyway, right? Which is great because now we can pick your favorite foods and make sense of it and be organized. But this even goes into like doing your daily tasks, etc. We're also going to have to periodize your nutrition, making sure that, hey, we take all those different goals. Because trust me, if you want, we can get you to perform better and we can get you to build the muscle and lose the fat, XYZ, and, fix our hormone issues and our gut health and those kind of things. But we need to strategize that. We need to make sense of it long term. And we need to right now first tackle our number one priority goal, not all of them all at once. Doesn't work that way. For example, performance and muscle gain requires the opposite of fat loss. If we're talking performance, the right eating healthy aspect kind of goes out the door. On the other hand, you can't always keep dieting either. You see? And like I said, when we look at your periodization and your goals, and right, we want to make sense of it, but we also want to make sure that when you have the birthday, the vacation, etc., you're able to include that. We're gonna take our breaks. We're not going to diet through Christmas. We're not going to diet when you're on vacation. We're not going to track when you're at the beach. No, we're going to take, we're going to allow ourselves to slow down. And I actually want you to, again, proactively practice also having the more flexible moments and not being super diligent with everything all the time. That's what makes this whole thing sustainable. But we only get to that point by doing the thing. You know what I mean? So when we do so, right? So let's talk about meal planning for a little bit. We can increase our adherence, meaning how well do we stick to our nutrition? And trust me, guys, we don't have to live on a strict plan, but a bit of structure we can do with, even if it's just saying, and we kind of talked a little bit about this, but even if it's just saying like, hey, I'm going to have 4 meals a day or 4 meals and a snack. And the reason I'm bringing it back today is that it's so key to do actually exactly that. Because a lot of people struggle with their daily macros and their protein, whatever it is. But let's not look at your daily amounts, whether you're tracking or not. Let's look at your meals. You don't eat that daily intake. You eat a meal and then your next meal and then the next meal, you know? So let's look at those and let's start to plan. If you have a busy morning, let's plan for a breakfast that we know we like, that will help us, right, get our proteins in, our fats, our healthy fats, right, our carbs, a little bit of color, fruits and or veggies. We want to make sure we get that in to start our day off right. And if I mention this now, like I want you to think about this, right? I want you to think and go, okay, what meal could that be for me? Is that going to be maybe a protein oats with nuts and seeds and maybe like berries? Or is it going to be an omelet with extra egg whites with spinach and whole grain bread or something like that, right? Avocado maybe on toast. Like there's so many ways we can go about this. Start to think, okay, what breakfast could I have most days? And you're free to rotate. And I will say this, you want to have your variety for micronutrients especially, but repeat some stuff. That's what I'm trying to say. Plan ahead. You're already busy. Guess what? I just had so Monday and Tuesday, right? I just had the busiest week, sorry, the busiest days of my week, which is every single week. It's Monday and Tuesday. I eat the exact same shit every time because I know that I'll hit my nutrition, I'll feel good. I have taken care of something that would otherwise cost me additional time, and I'm still adherent. I'm sticking to my nutrition. I'm currently cutting, right? I'm working with the coach myself, who, by the way, he also works with the coach and they work with the coach. We really believe in coaching. But long story short, like I also got to do my stuff. Just like you guys, I'm really busy too. I can still do these things. And that's why you'll see me post about that, whether I'm at the gym or my meals or whatever it is. We're all busy. And busyness is not a roadblock, it's just a reason to plan better. And that is the reality of it. Because I also work long days, right? Now, sure, I've done this longer. That's okay, right? You can get to that point. But what I'm trying to say is that we all deal with certain roadblocks, and busyness is one of them. So if we can now start planning our meals a little bit better, hey, guess what? If we go to work and we know, hey, I know this meal works for me, it's just something I can take with me or whatever it is, or maybe it's something I can buy at the store and it works for me. I like it and it helps me stick to my nutrition and I eat healthy. Awesome. I repeat a lot, by the way, and I plan for that, but I also leave my last meal of the day open for variety. So I'm still flexible enough for me personally, you see? And this is where, again, that personalization comes in. Maybe you want to repeat only 1 or 2 meals, and that's also cool. But we got to find out what works best for you. So we're going to start planning. We're also going to look into your daily schedule. Now, if you want better results, if you actually want to see actual muscle gain, actual fat loss, actual good performance, then just focus on that one thing. If you want to lose fat, we're going to lose fat, and that is going to be that main goal. And we're not going to worry about muscle gain. You could gain some muscle, right? But that's not going to be a priority. And by the way, your performance may also go down a little bit. You're going to get it back, don't worry. But it's also not a priority. A fat loss phase is for fat loss. Performance is performance. Muscle gain is muscle gain, you see? And health is just health. And we want to be at maintenance lots of time too. And we can plan for that. So let's say, for example, you want to get lean and you want to build muscle and lose fat, depending on how much body fat you want to lose. I'll typically recommend first doing a maintenance phase anyway. I first need you to create a good base, kind of like line of good habits. You want to have that foundation in place. Because again, in January, people don't do that. People think, hey, I just have had December and I've been, right? During the holidays, I've been all over the place. Now all of a sudden, I'm going to do everything right. We might as well spend a few weeks at least, or at least, maybe even a month, getting you ready, just actually feeling good, making sure you have the right habits and the systems in place and the routines so that you can actually stick to fat loss. But okay. So I will always say, let's do maintenance first. Let's optimize your habits. Let's optimize your metabolism, your hormones, where you're currently at. And then we can go in. And let's say, let's go with fat loss. We're going to plan for a fat loss phase. Could be a couple months. I'd say 12 to 16 weeks for most people will likely do the trick. Don't think that you're going to lose all the weight if we have a lot to lose, and that's okay. But just about 10% of your body weight would be a good amount for one phase. Not much more. I've seen people do best if we take a break there, because here's the thing too, your body needs to recover. Your metabolism needs to recover. You want to have time at maintenance. So let's say we do that. We go back to maintenance afterwards. We could do a reverse diet to get there, maybe six weeks, maybe just about, maybe shorter, kind of depending on the person. If you are really good with your tracking, I'm going to push for like a 6 week reverse diet. But again, it depends on the person. I can't give like general recommendations of like, hey, do this, because there's 17 people signed up for this mini challenge. It's like 17 different people. Now, of course, you want to include your social settings too, your birthdays, your vacations, and all that. And we want to keep that in mind. Sure, you might want to lose fat. Sure, you might want to build a muscle. And by the way, we can do that too, right? So once we've done the reverse and go to maintenance, we could even go into muscle gain for, let's call it like at least 4 months. But we have our goals. We plan for it, but let's not forget there is the holiday season, your birthday, your vacation. Where does that fit in? And I need you to keep that in mind. So when you start to plan your year, you don't have to do this, but I like personally to do it at least months ahead, because then I know, hey, by June, I'm going to be here, right? I know that the start of this year for me with, kickoff January, actually a little bit before Christmas already, but we had a diet break over Christmas. January was like official, right? Fat loss, okay. We're kind of wrapping it up, got last couple of weeks, and then we're going to go up, and then we're going to go into muscle gain. So then for the rest of the year, I'm going to be way leaner. We're going to be building muscle. Now, that being said, I also don't want to diet through summer. So either way, that lines up perfectly, you see. But you want to keep that in mind, because when you are going to, I don't know, if you're going to Spain for a vacation, for example, you probably shouldn't be tracking, or I don't think you should. You probably don't want to diet because, I mean, really? Like, do you want to do that during vacation? I don't think so, right? And that is okay. So we can plan for breaks. And when I say breaks, you can do two things. You can either do 1 or 2 refeed days, which is just 1 or 2 days, you go back to maintenance. You go back to eating enough, you take a break, and then you continue. And a diet break is really like a 1 or 2 week break where we kind of put you back. We kind of stay there for a little bit and then we go back. Now I'm speaking in terms of like fat loss phases, but you can do this in many different settings. If you go on vacation, I'm not going to suggest staying in a surplus if you don't train, you know what I mean? So also there you could take a break. So once you start thinking long term so that you get better adherence and better results, and I also want you to be able to not be all or nothing. I don't want you to go in and think, I got to lose fat real quick before my vacation, and then you're going to just go all out. Now, there's, like we talked about, there's both. There's enjoying and eating healthy, and we want to do both. We don't want to see all or nothing anymore after this, and we have to be proactive with that. So again, guys, when you're in this mini challenge, try to take these lessons, but then also try to really keep it in mind. Try to stay up to date with us, right? Listen to the podcast, for example. Like I said, every Monday, every Thursday, there's a new episode. We dive into a lot of different topics, right? Keep learning, because I'm going to basically repeat a bunch of stuff too for you. But like with that repetitive reminder that we do need as people, it's not that we learn something and then we're good. Like we need to repeated kind of like reminders and right the new tactics, and we need to keep trying also, because sometimes something doesn't work. We want to find something else for you. And of course, when you work with one of our coaches, like that's going to be right, your level is going to be up here right away, because you have that shortcut. You can access our accountability, our experience, our knowledge. As having someone on your team will objectively help you get better results sooner. You know what I mean? But if you do this on your own, then make sure to keep learning from here. You know what I mean? So we can talk about the planning, we can talk about periodization, but it's not until you actually do the thing, you actually sit down and you make your plan, you build your meals out, you try to come up with a full day of eating. Only then will you start to kind of like either kind of put the dots on paper or maybe even connect the dots. Make sense? So what I want you to do now is really simple. First of all, nutrition wise, what is currently already working for you? Write this down. Again, just like we've done the last couple of days, on a piece of paper, write this down. What are you currently doing well already with your nutrition? Meaning, which meals do you feel like, hey, these are already like pretty healthy? You know, I get my protein, my micronutrients. Let me just keep that in the routine. Let me make that part of my routine, and I'll maybe add something to it where, hey, maybe your lunch is taken care of. Let's now add breakfast. Make sense? Now, the next question, right? What can be done better in terms of my planning? And then I want you to give an answer for your nutrition as well as planning. So I should basically say that differently, but what can I do better nutrition wise? And what can I do to create my long-term plan? Let's go with those two for now, right? Again, I'm asking you a lot of questions. I really want you to write these down and really answer them for yourself. If I were your coach, I would be holding you accountable a lot more, but like answer those questions for you. And if you do not know the answer, you can always ask for help. Guidance is huge, guys. Like if you need the help, just ask for it, you know, because you don't have to figure this out on your own. Now, last question too. How will you today, right, start planning better? That goes for your meals. That goes for your results. If you can't figure it out, just hit me up. Just let me know. I can help you. But how will you make tomorrow a more productive day, a more organized day when it comes to these kind of things? If you currently don't know how to achieve certain goals, or you're unsure, you know, how to plan for your year, then either look into it yourself or hit me up or someone else or anyone in your direct environment who maybe has been there, done that. Because again, getting that help is huge. So let's get into the questions. Let's get into our questions. Scrolling down, let me see, nutrition. We are looking at our planning. Facebook is always weird because it only shows a few comments. Yeah, there we go. So all comments, that's what I need. We got nutrition and planning. Here we go. So from Sarah, this is a big one. Planning periodization. I plan my meals for the week every Sunday and shop groceries accordingly, which by the way, guys, pay attention. This is actually really good. So Sarah, good on you. Mostly to make sure that I get enough fruits and vegetables in and my macros. But I work 12-hour shifts in the ambulance. So on average, 3 times per week, nights and days, right? So also there, by the way, if you work shifts, like it becomes more difficult to plan. We can still work with it, but we need to find options that you want to get that will make it easier for you. So she says, obviously the days are difficult to plan because the work by nature is unpredictable. Yeah, for sure. So I bring 2 skyr yogurts, which is a good idea, and 2 bananas to eat in a banana in the ambulance when I get hungry and we don't have a lunch break for hours. That's a very good idea. And I also bring 3 pre-prepped meals that I eat back at the station when I get lunch breaks. But there's no way I can plan when I get to eat what. Sometimes we go hours without eating. Some of the meals I bring end up being lunch the next day, etc. Many of my colleagues end up buying stuff like hot dogs and something at the gas station. I usually end up eating too little on those days. Okay. Don't know if this is relevant for anyone else but me. So sorry for that if that's the case. But do you have any tips and or experience that can help me to improve my planning / eating here? I think this applies to a lot of people. Maybe not, like I will say this. So in your setting, it's definitely way more than other people, right? If you have an office job, of course, your schedule is set. You have certain lunch times. But let's not forget that people in general have very busy lives. We live busy lives. People run around and, you know, they're done with work and they have to pick up the kids and go to whatever it is. I have a lot of parents as our clients, and sometimes like it's impressive to see how much shit people get done during the day, in one 24-hour block. And it sounds like you're one of those people too, where you're just busy. So first of all, I love these kefir and bananas. If you could, I would add, if you can add something like nuts, that would be nice. Just a little tip there. So I always like protein yogurts with a piece of fruit. I would actually go with like a banana and an apple, just so you get a little bit of variety there. Or even just change it up. Go with an orange one day, go with kiwis, whatever you like, right? Variety is going to be key there. I want you to get different colors in, right? Um, but for some healthy fats, yeah, handful of nuts, there you go, right? And you can get trail mix, or you can get some of the little packs. Um, I mean, it sounds like you're doing pretty good in general. I would definitely think that when your colleagues get the hot dogs, like that's going to be your moment to get something else. Whether that's, I would say like if you can bring it, that would be great. Um, if not, I understand, of course. But then again, if they get it at a gas station, you could probably even get something at a gas station. That's not too bad. But hear me out. So you work on an ambulance, right? Which is healthcare, right? You help people. It's sometimes a little bit worrying to see that a lot of the people who are helping people don't get a chance to fully treat themselves in a healthy way, if that makes sense. They have to go with the hot dog, because here's the thing, not everyone has the awareness as you do, right? Not everyone is trying to be healthy. And before you know it, and hey, I've been there, right? I've been there. I did years of touring with bands, and you know, we would get a lot of meals at gas stations, and usually not the healthy stuff either, but it's something where like we want to have a solution. And I think prepping is going to be key, or having even something super simple like a skyr yogurt and a piece of fruit and a handful of nuts. Those little things would be so much better for people. But let's go back to you. Because to your point, I know you have a lot of requirements for your sport, right? You have sometimes you even train twice a day, right? We talked about this. I think you not eating in this scenario will have the most negative outcome possible when we look at kind of like what your main goal is. So our main goal here is to absolutely get those calories in, no matter how, kind of. Now, obviously, if we work 12-hour shifts, there's gonna be a moment where sometimes you can get something in, right? Even if it's a bite. Of course, I'm not there, so I don't fully know. Um, but when you mention, okay, sometimes we go hours without eating, some of my meals end up being lunch for the next day. I would say I much rather see you actually try to get it in, just get that meal in, like at the very end of your workday before you go home, right? So let's say, for example, you have a case and you're done, you're on the way back to the station. On that very last moment of your shift, like try to get it in then, right? Or if you have the feeling like, hey, there's gonna be a big one, try to get it in early. I'm always a big fan of having it early. So if you can, try to get a good amount in early on, if you kind of know. I guess it's unpredictable. I know that. But think about it this way too. Maybe if you're either waiting or you're driving around and you get a call to go and pick someone up, and okay, shit, like we have a big case coming up. Let me now quickly have something to where you have more energy going into it. So you're going to be able to deal with people better. Plus, in case you can't go for many hours without food, right? You're already going to have more in your system. So I think you're doing a lot of good stuff there already. But try to get it in, whether that's before or after. Try to hit your daily numbers. It's not going to be optimal, but it's still going to be at least second best. So I would really recommend you getting those calories in. Next question. So Lisa says, almost 2 years ago, I landed a job less than a mile from home. There are so many benefits to this. One of my favorite is that I go home for lunch, so there's no quick grabs of unhealthy food or forgetting my lunch as I'm walking out the door. That's great. By the way, like I work from home, like it's a perk. I will say that. I will admit that. It's very helpful. So she says, my biggest issue is to find variety. I get bored with the same foods over and over. And I also find that when I switch things up, the budget, or sorry, I also find that when I switch things up, the the budget's a bit too. I'm not fully sure. Um, is there a correlation with variety and your body burning the calories differently? Okay. No. Unless you're eating more calories, then yes, maybe. There's a few things to unpack here. First of all, you want to get your variety because, and so I like that you brought this up. You're like, hey, I want to get that variety in, and I struggle finding it. The way I do this is I just make little changes because I repeat a lot of meals, but I still have plenty of variety. So hear me out. So when I have my breakfast, when I do protein, so I have my oats with protein powder with like peanut butter and blueberries. Another day it could be raspberries or mixed berries. Another day I could add apple or pineapple, whatever. Um, Instead of the peanut butter, I could add chia seeds or flax seeds or whatever it is, or walnuts. Maybe instead of the scoop of protein powder, I'm going to throw in cottage cheese or like a protein yogurt or something. Other than that, let's think lunch. For example, I really like tortilla. So if I have like chicken tortilla with avocado and maybe lettuce and bell pepper and something else, bit of onion, right? Maybe. Okay, maybe I want to have that same combination, but instead of the tortilla wrap, I'm just gonna have rice. Or maybe instead of the chicken, I'm gonna have any kind of fish, or maybe I'm gonna have some beef or ground beef. Next meal. Okay, so maybe I'm gonna have sweet potatoes with salmon and asparagus and a bit of olive oil. Okay, I could swap out the asparagus for different veggies. I could swap out sweet potato for regular potato. Or if I want to have something completely different, I can do so, right? I can have something like quinoa instead. Um, Same kind of thing. If I want to have different fish, I'll just instead of the salmon, I would go with trout or maybe cod or whatever it is. You can make little changes like that and really change it up and get a lot of variety. Um, yeah, again, try to play with different variations of your meals that you're already having. Now, I will say this too. It will help at least keeping the structure in, right? So maybe you want to come up with almost like your own menu where you rotate a few meals. Now, when it comes to the variety and your body burning calories differently, not really. Only when you eat more calories. Um, and to a certain extent, maybe some foods you'd be burning more calories because if your fiber intake is higher, for example. But here's the thing. Um, I would have to see what changes you are making to give you a better idea. However, you're on the right path. So you want to get your variety. Try to find a middle ground. Like I said, try to find a middle ground so that you don't get bored, but you can still be consistent. Um, what I will say here is too that if you're very used to eating certain foods and you throw in something different, it could lead to a little bit of water retention. But let's remember there's a big difference between body weight and body fat. And I actually put up an article about that today. So if you want to learn more about weight fluctuations, I just put a full article on this today. So go to our website and you'll find it there. And it's also posted in this group. Just scroll down. So Christina says, how to plan my meals and still include or make room for social events like dinners, weekend trips, etc., with good conscience. I struggle to find the balance. Yeah, Christine. So what it's going to be is it's a process that's going to take some time. Let me say that first. You're going to have to learn how to not feel guilty, not feel stressed around these situations because people tend to do this. It's like, and we talked about it today, right? It's like, hey, I'm on a roll, but now all of a sudden I'm going out for food. What the hell do I do? I don't know. Normally I have chicken and rice, like they don't have it at the restaurant. Okay, cool. Yeah. Should we learn instead of being dependent on a set of macros or a meal plan or whatever it may be? Like instead of that, shouldn't we learn how to make choices on the fly as well? You know what I mean? I always tell people this. It's like, hey, like, no, I want you to be able to do with and without tracking. I want you to be able to plan stuff we talked about today. But you know what? I also want you to be able to plan and then have a day where it doesn't go according to plan and then make changes on the fly and make decisions on the fly because it's going to come up. It's not if, it's when. I want you to be able to go in without a plan and make better choices. And it's a process. It's a process. So I don't have like one like how to, but what I will say is that if you think 80-20, we talked about this, flexible dieting and, getting 80% like whole foods, the 20%, like that's included there, right? Now, what I don't want you to think is all or nothing to where there's no rules. Every calorie counts. We can still make healthy, better decisions. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we can still make the better decision. Look at the menu, like what meals are we getting? Usually there's a good option where it's, whole food based, basically. And then every now and then, let's have something fun. But it really depends. What I like to do is a very simple framework. I just say, hey, let's reflect on previous times because I don't know that right? Let's say, for example, because you're mentioning dinners. Okay, think back to the last time you had dinner. What did you struggle with? What was the hard part about it? Um, right? Because you also mentioned here to include it with a good conscience. Like, what was the thing about that scenario that made you kind of feel like maybe uncomfortable or right, maybe guilty or whatever it might have been, or maybe stressed? What was it? And what do you think you can do differently slash better this time? And then maybe next week you go out for food. Okay, let's try that. I want you to go in mindful, like being mindful of the situation, which by the way, if you want, you can have a feeding of protein before you go, but okay. Think, okay, how do I want to feel? What is my goal? What is my priority right now? And if your priority is having a good time and you want to enjoy that meal, enjoy the meal, right? It's not all or nothing here. We can have the flexible stuff. It just, right? It kind of depends on the setting, the scenario, the phase we're in. How do we want to feel during? How do you want to feel afterwards? I know that when I overeat, like I always feel like shit afterwards. So I'm trying not to do that. Now, will I still have the fun foods? Yes, sometimes. But it's at 80-20. I know I can get away with it because I eat whole foods for the most part. You see? When I want to have a piece of chocolate or I want to have the dessert, I can fit it in. Now, if you want to get more specific in terms of like macros, you can plan for it. You know what I mean? You can even go as far as looking up a menu beforehand. Um, some restaurants even have like calories on their menu, but looking it up before, thinking, oh, like today we're going to my favorite burger spot. I'm going to go get this. Okay, let me pre-log it and then work my day around it. An additional tool could be calorie cycling. If we know, hey, we want to keep those weekends a little bit more flexible, we can allow for that and then go a little bit lower during the week. But I don't want people to take this out of context, you see. So I hope that helps. If you need more help, please do feel free to reach out. Again, it's going to be a process. It's going to take time, and it's proactive figuring it out. You reflect on past times, you make a plan, you go in, you execute the plan, and this is very important. Repeat that, right? So I want you to then again reflect. Again, right? Sit down and reflect on that evening. What did you do well? What can be better next time? You make a plan for next time. You do it again. You do it again. And then every single time you get a little bit better. Before you know it, you're going to be able to just include that with good conscience. Make sense? Joanna says, how do I get my things done faster? So for context, I always do my things, but often I'm doing it too late, and that takes time away from my sleep. Okay, so what should I prioritize, sleep or a workout? I'm not talking about sometimes, but like every Monday. Yeah, just sounds more like a procrastination thing. Planning is a big one here too. But if it continues to happen, right, we want to not even look at the solution, but we want to look at the root cause. You see? Because how can I get my things done faster? I don't know. I don't know what your day looks like. But if we always end up doing things too late, and it's going to take away from our sleep. And by the way, we shouldn't prioritize. I mean, if it's working out or sleeping, it's absolutely sleep that we need to prioritize. It's the unpopular answer, but we want to prioritize sleep over working out. But okay, what is the root cause? Like, why are we always too late? That's what I want to get to. And that's a question that you can answer for yourself. If we're always too late with certain things, and because of that, sleep is suffering, let's not at let's not ask ourselves, hey, what's better, skipping sleep or working out? No, let's actually go back to why is it happening in the first place, and then we can do better. I think time blocking is going to be huge. I think I like timers like the Pomodoro timer, where it's like 25 minutes you work, 5 minutes rest. Time blocking is huge for me. A lot of reminders in my calendar. I live by Google Calendar. Everything is in there. My life is in the calendar. Um, it's one of those things too, where it's maybe not always fun. We like to do things on the fly, but as people, like we need that structure, you know? Um, Getting things done faster, it really just depends. Scheduling time off as well is a big one. Because if we do not recharge, like we're not gonna be productive. We're gonna be stressed, we're gonna be overwhelmed. Guess what happens? This is something that my very first mentor had me doing. He was like, first thing I need you to do is time block, but also schedule free time. Because if you have a limited time frame where you need to get shit done, because you have rest here, then during the time where you do work, you're more refreshed and you get things better done faster. Make sense? And if it's a everyday, every Monday thing, then, same kind of thing. You get like every Monday, you get a chance to dial this in. Just again, reflect, plan, execute, just keep rotating, keep working on this. Stina says, planning, is intermittent fasting beneficial or recommended? Long story short, no. Um, she says, if you don't have to go for losing weight, I wouldn't say so. There's a lot of hype around it. Nah, she says like, for example, 16:8, 14:10. You know what it is? I don't like discussing those things without knowing context, because there is a lot of research pointing out that for women, it could unfortunately cause a lot more unnecessary stress on their bodies, um, which is, again, maybe a little bit unfair in a way, because men can get away with it better. But then again, I don't know enough context about your nutrition and stress levels and those kind of things to make a recommendation. If you don't need to lose weight, there's no reason to. If you get your breakfast in the morning, you're going to burn more calories throughout the day. It's going to be better for your hormones, your metabolism throughout the day. You're going to feel better. You're going to have better energy. Um, so what you want to have is you want to have your first meal 30 to 60 minutes after you wake up. First of all, that's going to be huge. So the first 30 to 60 minutes that you want to have that first meal. And then from there, just about every 3 to 4 hours. And that's going to be my general recommendation. Fasting over the course of my almost, what is it now? Yeah, four-year coaching career, I've never utilized fasting, and I'm not planning on doing that either currently. There may be a specific scenario where it could be beneficial in terms of gut health. But again, that's a more specific protocol. So again, if it's not to lose weight, and there's not really any reason to do it, then no. Because what people sometimes end up doing is just kind of like random shit because we hear about it somewhere, but not knowing why we should be doing it, or. So I really appreciate that you actually asked a question, because it's like, hey, should I be doing it? Is there another reason? Um, no, you're fine. Like you don't need to, right? If you eat like the first 30 to 60 minutes from waking up, and then every 3 to 4 hours, and then maybe stop eating 2 hours before bedtime, just about, that would be a good one. Or maybe like keeping just about 12 hours between your last meal and your first. That could be one to do maybe if you wanted to. It just kind of depends, because again, I don't know enough context. So the only right answer is to not recommend it here. And Karina says, for planning, so how to plan a meal before and after a heavy strength session, and how should one plan meals if one has a late strength session? So the general principle for your training, your performance, and optimizing that through nutrition, you want to do most of your carbs around training. So again, you want to get a good amount before and definitely after. Before, it's mostly to fuel, and then after, it's mostly to blunt cortisol, to bring that down, and to replenish and refuel. So you want to have the biggest chunk of your carbs after training, if you want to get more specific, and a good amount also before training. Now, how would you do that when you train later? Same type of thing, to be honest with you, because also there, we talked about cortisol, melatonin. yesterday, when you eat carbs, you spike insulin. That's going to bring down cortisol, especially if you train in the evening. Cortisol, that stress hormone, might be high because you've been training, which means that we want to bring that down for you to actually properly like get a good night of sleep and be able to fall asleep. So the general principle still goes there. Um, the only thing that would change, I would say, is maybe how many meals you have, to where, hey, maybe if you train in the afternoon, you're maybe going to have like a post-workout meal and then maybe dinner, right? Maybe if you train later, it's just going to be dinner, just that last meal. So just make sure that whatever that meal is after training, get most amount of carbs in. But then also before training, like your carbs are going to be priority. Protein as well for both meals, and then a little bit lower in fat and fiber. And then the other meals during the day, you want to have more fat and fiber to kind of make up for that. And then again, you can still have some. So I do want you to get your fruits and veggies in still, obviously, and your healthy fats. Um, it just also kind of depends like what you're playing with in terms of macros and amounts and where you're at. Is it necessary to? Because we're really splitting hairs here. Like I will say, if you're more advanced and you are able to get, those kind of things dialed in, you can get a benefit out of that. If you're just a general, you just like training and right, you want to keep it simple, then you don't even have to get this specific. At the end of the day, it's about what you're getting in on a daily basis. So that is it for today. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for all your great questions. Last, a little bit of side note. We are doing a full like public challenge in March. So if you're loving this one, you're definitely going to like that one. We're going to do it public. We're going to do more Q&A. We're going to do, right, more with the forums. Like there's going to be a leaderboard that's actually being updated consistently. Right now, I want you guys to just focus on taking action. I'm going to be reaching out to you guys to check up on you with your checklist. So we're still going to look at it, but then we're going to have the leaderboard, right? We're going to have more prizes to win. And that being said, like I haven't even shared what you can actually win with this challenge, right? So that being said, March, right? March, we're going to do another challenge. If you like this one, you're going to love that one for sure. And of course, if you need more help, then feel free to reach out to me. I know that with nutrition, it gets very nuanced, it's very detailed, it's very specific, and it's always like a it depends question. If you're here and you need more help, reach out to me. If you just want to have a chat, awesome. If you have a question, awesome. If you want to talk about coaching, I could probably figure out something out for you because you're in this challenge. And of course, we're going to do something in March as well. So I'm very excited for that. So that being said, have a great rest of your week, and then we will be back tomorrow at the same time, 5. So I'll talk to you then to talk about training.